I've seen James Gunn's Superman movie twice now, and I can't stop thinking about it. Not because of some twist or because it was the most epic superhero film I've ever seen, but because it gave me something I didn't realize I was missing from superhero movies: sincerity. The film doesn't try to be edgy, gritty, or grounded in realism. It doesn't apologize for being a comic book film, it celebrates it. And honestly, that might be the boldest move any superhero film can make right now. From the opening moments, it's clear this is not Man of Steel. This is not Dark Knight. It's something else. It's colorful, it's weird, and at times downright silly. And that's a compliment. You can feel the Silver Age influence oozing from every frame. Giant robots, kaiju, flying dogs, science that borders on sorcery. James Gunn described his goal as bringing a comic book to life, visually and emotionally, and you could feel that mission pulsing through the film. He said, "This is the most comic book film I've ever made," and that 100% tracks. In numerous interviews, Gunn has said that his biggest influence was All Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, and that influence is palpable. From the cosmic stakes to the heartfelt human moments, other inspirations included Superman for All Seasons, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, Kingdom Come, and visual homages to Kurt Swan, John Byrne, and Frank Quitely. This isn't nostalgia. It's a rethread of Superman's DNA woven into a modern DCU. David Corenswet is exactly what this role needed. He doesn't reinvent the character, he reveals who Superman always was. His Clark Kent is humble, compassionate, even a little awkward. His Superman is strong without arrogance, driven by purpose rather than rage. And when he does fight, you feel every punch because it's rooted in empathy, not spectacle. At one point, he saves a squirrel. That's the kind of moment that reminds you why Superman matters. Every life is precious to Superman, and he's apparently the only one in this movie because at numerous points, they have Hawk Girl killing people, they have Metamorpho melting people with acid, and Mr. Terrific kills the kaiju. Superman seems to be the only one who really cares about life in this movie. I mean, we see Lex Luthor shoot a guy cold blood right in the head, and Superman screams. You can actually feel his pain. Rachel Brosnahan gives us a Lois Lane who is intelligent, argumentative, even emotionally guarded. Gunn said she's lost her belief in magic and love, and Clark helps her find it again. A brilliant arc made richer by their chemistry. I mean, you could see it. There are sparks flying when these two are on the camera on screen. It is palpable when you see that. Mr. Terrific steals every scene he's in with intelligence and dry humor. Guy Gardner brings chaotic charm. And Krypto, audiences audibly cheered. Finally, a super dog who's earnest, goofy, and emotionally real, not just a comic relief sidekick. Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor simmers, cold, calculating, broken. Gunn said he relates to Lex, not in his cruelty, but in his envy, that human longing to prove oneself. Holt channels that envy like slow poison. Both of them, Superman and Lex Luthor, have great monologues, great speeches that they give in this movie. You could see James Gunn pouring his heart out through his pen as he's writing this and what he wants to say about Superman, about humanity, and about living in this world right now in 2025. It's chilling when you see Lex Luthor mistreat Krypto, and Jimmy even calls it out. At one point, Jimmy Olsen is like, Jesus, he's torturing a dog, but not because of spectacle, because it's personal. That's what makes him terrifying. You understand him even when you recoil. The action scenes are by far the best we've seen in any Superman film, not because of scale, although if you watch it on an IMAX screen, you are going to have a great time, but because it's emotionally anchored. Yes, there are aerial battles, heat vision, giant threats, but every fight means something. Gunn aimed for fight scenes that have never been shot before, and we see that with IMAX 100%. Like the IMAX cameras, it shows every punch lands, every flight feels elevated. And I think that also goes to the Top Gun Maverick references that James Gunn said he was influenced by watching those flight scenes. You could see it. This is something that we have not seen before in Superman flight scenes. We've seen it, the character is 80 years old. We've seen Superman fly hundreds of times, but we've never seen it quite this way. So this is a new experience watching the Superman fly. I actually wish there was more of it. Going into it, I was thinking, man, there's going to be all these great flight scenes. There are a few, And every time you see them, they're impactful, but I just wanted more. Still, some have noted online that the film feels stuffed with Krypto, the Justice Gang, kaiju fights, world building. And I don't disagree with that. I do feel like the runtime, I wish it would have been a little bit longer to have a little bit more space and room to breathe. A slightly trimmed narrative might have allowed more emotional setup. But my view is this was a buffet of DC, and I'm full in the best way. One of the things I loved about this movie was the opening title card. I don't even know what to call it, but basically, they count down 300 years, 30 years, 3 years, 3 weeks, 3 minutes ago. That countdown doesn't just open the film, it grounds it in history, urgency, legacy. It tells you that this world is already rich and we're stepping into a story mid stride. So he's been Superman for 3 years now. This is the first time he's ever lost a fight. And I got to say, when Millie Alcock showed up as Supergirl, my audience, number one, gasped, cheered. One lady stood up in the theater. What? It really hit. And that was fun for me to see, knowing the story that they're about to tell from Woman of Tomorrow, which highly recommend Tom King and Evis Bilquis' Woman of Tomorrow, 100%. That is one of the best comics I've read in the last 10 years. But she lands big time. It's a bridge to the Woman of Tomorrow film that's about to come out, and it gives us a taste of something raw and dangerous. Contrast that with Clark's kindness. That is electric. This film doesn't just tease the DCU's future, it earns it. I think the standout moment in this film, and probably what James Gunn wants to say more than anything, Superman says, I'm punk rock, responding to Lois Lane saying that she was punk rock and he was Superman. He was the complete opposite of her. And he's like, I'm punk rock. That moment right there says everything you need to know about what James Gunn is laying out in this Superman and he's what he has to say. And I think that was the moment that he cracked it, because he was trying to write this movie for a long time and he couldn't figure out the right idea, the way to jump in, the approach to it. I think once he got that, I'm punk rock, that was the moment. In a media landscape marinated in gloom, cynicism, and anti heroes, hope is rebellion. Kindness is counterculture. Being super is refusing to give up when it's hard. Gunn wanted to deliver that happy movie feeling, the kind where you walk out of the theater loving the person next to you a little bit more. And that's exactly how I felt both times when I walked out of the theater. I've seen some say this movie assumes you already care about Superman, that it drowns in world building at the expense of establishing emotional stakes. You might wonder, why does that matter? Why do people care about that? Why should I care about this version of Superman? If you're new here, that disconnect might feel jarring, and I could get that. I can see someone who isn't a longtime fan of DC Comics or Superman feeling disjointed when they come out of this movie. The pacing can feel a little rushed, but for me, every surprise, every joke, and battle contained enough heart that it made me care, and then some. It made me, as a longtime DC fan, as a longtime Superman fan, as long as I can remember loving Superman, one of the first memories in my mind is of dressing up as Superman, loving Superman, all of the different things over the years. And this movie is a love letter to Superman fans. And that's what I loved about it. Thinking back to Man of Steel or Superman Returns, which held back on large scale set pieces, this film dives headfirst into comic book spectacle. You feel the speed, the weight, the impact. Like I said, heat vision, sonic booms, aerial clashes. These aren't just VFX shots. These are emotional moments because every fight is rooted in character. Superman isn't just punching to win, he's fighting to protect, to serve, to inspire, to save everyone. And that belief in everyone is what makes him so powerful. It's what makes every battle mean something. And that was a big thing when I walked away from this movie. Superman having human emotions and him being just like the rest of us, although he has superpowers, he was raised by salt of the earth people. And we see the Ma and Pa kid in this movie being a completely different type than we've seen in previous iterations. And it just shows that nature versus nurture argument. And I did like that. The contrast between his Kryptonian parents sending him here for nefarious purposes, and we've seen that before in other things. That's not groundbreaking. I mean, you can even look at My Adventures with Superman, which is a fantastic show, and see that almost the evil Kryptonian side sending him to Earth and wanting him to take over, but his human parents are what ground him. That nature is what, or I should say, that nurture is what grounds him and makes him relevant because he wants to do good because of how he was raised. And that final shot when he tells Gary, Alan Tudyk's robot, which is fantastic, show me, my parents. And it's Ma and Pa Kent. And it's all those moments of him growing up in Kansas and in Smallville. That's who Superman is. That's what shaped him. And it makes me think about my life and how I was raised and how my parents raised me, where I grew up, and wanting to be better because of Superman, because of superheroes and the morality that they instilled in me. It just makes me want to be a better person. And I think something that James Gunn gets more than anyone is treat this movie like a comic book. Treat it like the source material because that's what inspires us. That's where this came from, is the source material. You see it in Clark's humanity. You see it in the cosmic weirdness, in the Silver Age callbacks, in the film's refusal to treat hope like a weakness. This movie feels like a love letter to comic books. That made my heart soar, not just in the plot, but in the spirit of the film. And I was on cloud nine. I just could not be happier to see a love letter to the medium that I love. Out of any storytelling medium, comic books are my number one. And so seeing that and walking out of the theater feeling something I have not felt, I want to say, since Christopher Reeve's Superman. Hope, the Superman Returns, I walked out disappointed. Man of Steel, I walked out disappointed. Batman v Superman, Justice League, all of those films, I walked out saying, man, I wish we could show more of who Superman is. And this movie gets it right. So I'm so optimistic for what James Gunn is going to come up with next, what the DC Universe is going to come up with next. I feel like this is a good, strong start. And then hopefully we can get other great creatives to come in and paint in this world, lay down their, okay, here's my version of this, here's my version of Batman, here's my version of Supergirl. I'm hoping all of these creatives can kind of mesh and flow together so that this new DC universe is no longer thought of as like a joke. It's thought of as, hey, these are great movies coming out. Doesn't matter if you're Marvel, doesn't matter if you're DC. Great stories can be told on both sides. This movie felt like Superman. It felt like DC finding its voice again. Again, the movie is not perfect. No film is, but it gets the most important things right: the heart, the hope, the humanity. And honestly, that's enough for me.